We would like to acknowledge that this podcast was recorded, produced, and created within the territory of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq. Our relationship and our privilege to live on this territory was agreed upon in the Peace and Friendship Treaties of 1752. Because of this treaty relationship, it is to be acknowledged that we are all treaty people and have a responsibility to respect this territory.
Our guest today on When Ducks Leave the Pond is the incredibly talented Tricia Black, an award-winning actor, writer, comedian, and Mount A alum. From her early days in Sackville, where she immersed herself in theater, improv, and music, to her rise in the comedy and television industry, Tricia has built a career defined by creativity, resilience, and laughter. A graduate of Second City, she starred in Kim's Convenience, Baroness von Sketch Show, Pretty Hard Cases, and What Do We Do in the Shadows, while also earning 2 Canadian Screen Awards. Today, she joins us to share her journey, the lessons she's learned along the way, and what's next for her in the world of entertainment. I remember you, Tricia. I remember you very specifically at Mount A. I remember seeing you, of course, in different productions, but also kind of walking around campus. You did all kinds of different things. You were very involved. But what I noticed about you every time is that when you walked into a room, you owned that room. Everybody knew you had entered the room. Your stage presence obviously shone through, even in your everyday world. And you've always said that you wanted a career in entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. Was there a defining moment in your childhood or teen years when you realized that this was the path for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was little, I definitely was involved in a lot of theater in New Brunswick, like in my elementary school days. And then it's funny because we moved when I was around 10 or 11, going into middle school from Cambridge Narrows, New Brunswick, which was a very small little town, little village. And we moved to Quispamsis. And I kind of went into sports. Like it felt like the thing, I guess, to do. And then in high school, I kind of got back into the arts and around grade 10. And I think I always kind of knew that this was the path. Like my mom always says I was a funny kid, like just, very talkative, even though I was incredibly insular, I think when I was younger, I was quiet. Um, it's funny because I just went to Mexico for my cousin's wedding, and a lot of her friends are from my high school, and they were like, "Oh man, we would have never known because you're so quiet in high
Really?
school, right?" Yeah, I guess yeah, I know. And then it really took me getting to Mount A, and I joined Black Tie Productions. I did Little Shop of Horrors in my second semester. I had a terrible first semester, but that's just think par for the course when you're,
That's right. Yeah.
First
Similar
year of
story.
university,
Yeah.
you're sent off, you're on your own for the first time. You don't know how to properly uh, you know, uh, manage your time. And I was really bad at it. I have a lot of anxiety, things like that, that was undiagnosed at that time. So, but then in the second semester, I joined Black Tie Productions, which I don't think it exists right now anymore. But for my time at Mount A and several years after that, it really brought me out of my shell. I met a lot of really cool artists, actors, people who loved multiple things, but also loved theater. And so that really helped me kind of really come out of my shell. So in that time, I really do believe Mount A is the reason why I am who I am.
Wow. Well, what drew you to Mount Allison?
To be honest, it was closer to home. A lot of my friends were going. It was a small campus. You'd read a lot about us in Maclean's magazine and how it was a really great school for feeling like you mattered, with the smaller class sizes, which is so true. And I think I just loved the vibe when we went to go visit it. It has Sackville. I love Sackville. I have only incredible things to say about Sackville. It is such a nostalgic, warm place for me. I spent a lot of my, informative time there. And so Mount A just seemed like the right choice because it was just close enough, but far away enough. It had all the things I wanted to do. It had a good theater program, and was small town. And yeah, so it just felt like the right choice from the beginning.
Tricia, Mount Allison is known for its tight-knit community.
Mhm.
Were there any professors, mentors, or peers that had a lasting impact on you while you were here?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Elizabeth Wells in the music department, she was a wonderful professor. She helped me feel really good about, I wasn't the best at formatting my my things, and I always felt a little bit silly and not smart. And she kind of was like, well, you just write like you talk, and that's okay. And she didn't penalize me for it or anything like that. And it really made me feel better that I was smart. I just am bad at formatting, and so are
Yeah.
a lot of people. Mark Blograve was an incredible professor. I didn't have many classes with him, but outside of class too, he was just such a wonderful, engaged professor, and he always made the room feel good and comfortable. And then Robert Campbell was our president at the time. I really enjoyed him. He was really nice. He like knew so many people and made you feel like you were special. He was very good at that. And then also Joy Estabrooks in the SAC office. She was like the best, especially when I was like running Garnet and Gold and running Black Tie. You know, you have to deal with budgets and all of these things and trying to get, grants and stuff like that to make your things run. And she was just so patient and so helpful and always so kind, uh, to do that for us, and always made it such a smooth, easy transition.
It's such a small Mountain world. I can literally tell you right now that I was the voiceover reader for Elizabeth Wells's latest book. It's on
Oh,
Spotify. I literally saw Mark Blograve 2 days ago. His new book is just out, and he did a reading at the Owens. Spoke to Robert Campbell literally earlier this week on a whole other topic. And of course, the wonderful, the esteemed, the deeply loved Joy Estabrooks, I see all the time. She worked at the SAC when I was at the SAC, if you can imagine. So
mhm.
since 1985, she and Charles have been just an incredible presence
Yeah.
in the lives of our students. So that's how small the world is.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Also, like live bait was a big thing for me in the community, at least. Karen Verlaine and Charlie Reindress were really they gave me my first, like, I guess, real paid job as an
Yeah.
actor
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the dinner theater. So
Of
yeah.
course. Yeah. Oh, it's a small world. Trisha, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting things in your kind of CV, right? But
Mhm.
studying at Second City in Chicago, I mean, this place launched the careers of some of the biggest names in comedy. Uh, how did you get into that, and what was it like?
Yeah, so that's so funny because that's connected to Mount A as well. So which I know is, but it's a very dear friend of mine, Justin Collette, who I went to school with at Mount A, he's now touring in the national Broadway company of Beetlejuice.
Hmm.
He's from Riverview, but he started an improv group called Flint at Mount Allison Flint, and also the improv troupe that's there now as well. That's still going, which is awesome. He started that, and he was like, "Hey, we did a lot of classes together," and he was like, "You should come do this thing." And I did, and I loved it. I couldn't love it more. And then he was moving to Chicago, and he was like, "I'm moving to Chicago," and I was like, "I'm coming with you." And I just on a whim kind of was like, I'm gonna go. And we went and we lived there for almost a year, studied at Chicago Second City, and then came back. And then I mean, I did a lot of dinner theater in Sackville and in Moncton, which is like, honestly, again, that's still such a warm place in my heart, doing dinner theater. But we came back and we did a year of Flint in Sackville. And then I moved to Toronto after that. And then I started trying to get into Second City in Toronto.
Well, what do you consider, like, what was your first break into television in the film industry? Uh, was there like a big, ooh, I've made it moment for you?
Um, it's so interesting with our industry because you have so many like ups and downs. It's such a roller coaster. The first like thing I ever booked was a commercial for Lotto Max, and it was like called it was Jane's Lake, and that was wild because so many people liked it, and I would get stopped in the street about it. And then the first episode of TV I ever did was Baroness von Sketch, which was like such a incredible experience because those women are brilliant comedians. And
It's literally my favorite show ever.
is it
I
really?
oh
Oh my
yeah, I'll
gosh.
rewatch those sketches on YouTube and just laugh myself silly, and then all my girlfriends and I send it to each other because we were all at the same age, right? Like with those women when that show came out, so we identified for it with it like so much.
Sorry, my dog's going crazy, but yes, I agree. She agrees. It is. And they're also like a lot of them are Second City alumni and are just these like talented powerhouses. And I've worked with Meredith McNeil on other projects as well, like Pretty Hard Cases. I think that was probably like a big one for me. Pretty hard. It was my first recurring role on a series, and we just like it was on CBC and then went on Canadian Netflix for a while, and then that was when it was like people started recognizing me and were like, "Oh, you were also at Second City on the main stage." And so that was a really cool moment.
You've worked in improv and theater and TV and film. Do you have a favorite medium?
I don't know if I do because they all bring such a different such a different like I don't know how to explain it. Like film and TV is so exciting because it's this more insular, very like you're very close and like talking to people. And then theater is like you're talking to like a huge a huge theater. You gotta yell to the back of the hall. And comedy, doing comedy live is so rewarding because you get the laughs right away, where like film and TV you don't get that. It's good, and then the crew laughs after the take and all of that stuff. But there's something about doing live comedy that is just so enjoyable and rewarding, and getting to make people laugh on the spot, and like having to come up with like improvising your way through things is so cool. But like film and TV is like incredible also, getting to like be behind the scenes and watch everyone from craft to the DP to the director to the actors coming together and working on this like giant project is really incredible to watch.
I know that you've often spoken about and are very passionate about representation in media.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I mean, you've been at this for what, like 10, 15 years?
Yeah.
Have you seen any changes, any improvements? How do you think it's evolved and where do you think it's going?
I think it's definitely evolved. I think from when, I think about when I was younger, there was representation, but it wasn't a whole lot of it. And now you're seeing more stories being told on screen, on stage. And I think it's really beautiful, like people telling their truths. And I think it'll just keep going. I think people are hungry for different stories that we haven't seen yet. And I know that the climate of the world can be pretty scary right now, but I still think people want to hear those stories and want to see joy. I think our world needs a little bit more joy, and I feel like that's where a lot of stuff is going to be headed for a while. Is just celebrating community and celebrating joy.
Those are great words. And really affirming because it's been a tough week, hasn't it?
Yeah.
A tough couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to actually meditate on what you just said
Yeah.
tonight. Like, just, yeah. Listen, you've won two Canadian Screen Awards. Like,
Mhm.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
How did it feel? Like, what was it like to be recognized at that level? Like, it must have been gobsmacking and exciting and frightening and all that stuff.
Yeah, it really was. The first time I won was during the pandemic. So it was online. And so my partner and I, we went and took a couple little cute photos outside or whatever. And then I put like, I don't know, I think it was like swim trunks and a t-shirt on to watch this like pre-taped thing. And we were watching, and I had no idea. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna win. Like I'm not well known. I'm not, and my performance, I really enjoyed it, and I had a really great time. The show for that one was really, really great. But I didn't not think I was gonna win. And then I won, and I was like, I'm in swim trunks, and so it was just like it was such a core memory of winning, and it was so exciting. It's such a an honor to be recognized by your peers and like people in this industry who have watched your things. And the second time I won was for this incredible cartoon I did, so it was for voice acting, and I loved that show so much. It meant a lot to me, and you know being presented in front of your peers in live time was really really cool, and it's a huge honor, and I'm very lucky and feel very blessed to work in this industry, and like people that like I look up to or people that I grew up watching, like I know them now and they know me, and it's like such a weird reality I live in, and I'm such a big supporter and a big um I tr- of Canadian content. I think we as a country need to watch more Canadian content and support kind of our own industry a little bit, because there's a lot of really great stuff that's being made, and the more people pay attention and watch that, the more we can create. And I think we're really lucky to have a really robust industry that I hope people will take the time to like really watch and like tune in.
Did you have like a surreal moment, when you're at these award shows or when you're being introduced to someone that you're going to be working with? Or is there at those moments, those surreal moments, like, is this really happening to me? Have you ever had one of those?
Oh, almost every time I go to set, I go, how did I get here? This is cool. Like, I feel like, wow, like what, like I'm truly so blessed and content. And, I've worked hard to get where I am too. Like, it's not like, when I moved to Toronto, I was working two jobs and I did shows 6 nights a week and like burned myself out. And I think you have to in this industry. You really have to push for yourself, and you really have to make your own work and make your own content. So like every time I walk onto a set, I am, just often in awe of who I get to work with. Whether it's like an actor or director, a producer, it's like it's so cool. I did recently, I can't say right now what show it is, but I did recently work with a very like A-list celebrity for a summer, and we hung out a little bit, and they're like the coolest, and I was like, wow, this is my life.
Oh my goodness. Now you've
you
got me
know
completely. I'll be Googling this for weeks. When should we know about this? In 6 months, a year?
probably hopefully but I'm sure something will be announced soon. But yeah,
Okay.
it's really exciting. And like I just did a show that's on CBC right now. I don't know if you're going to talk about it later, but with Meredith McNeil and Jen Whalen from Baroness. So it's on CBC right now. It's called Small Achievable Goals. And that was really fun to work on and like get to work with Meredith again. And it's all about women going through menopause and people working at a podcast
There you
studio.
go. There you go.
So, you know,
Do you have like a role that you would like your dream role that you haven't landed but you'd love to play or you'd love to do, or someone like you just mentioned, an A-lister? Is there someone else you haven't worked with that you'd love to work with?
yeah, I mean, I like roles is like I would love someday to be in like I really this is gonna sound funny, but I really want to play like the murderer in a horror movie. I think that would be really fun. I mean, I would love to work with like Margot Martindale would be really cool, or Kathy Bates would be amazing, or Laurie Metcalf. I think Laurie Metcalf is like a dream career to have. So Laurie Metcalf from like Roseanne,
Or, yep,
and
of
like,
course.
she's an incredible actress. Um like Melissa McCarthy would be cool to work with. I always want to strive to be like I feel like John Candy is my like idol, and like
Oh,
so his career is just like amazing to me, and like I love how positive he was and how much people like loved working with him, and I think that that's what I always want to strive to be is like somebody that's like good to work with and fun to be around.
Well, I think that's actually leads really well into this next question because that sounded like really good advice. So, Tricia, looking back on your journey, what advice would you give to young creatives, especially in small communities like Sackville or Cambridge Narrows, who want to pursue a career in entertainment, in film, etc.? So, what would you tell that first year sitting in Thornton right now, going reading, getting ready for midterms?
I think I would say, just no matter what, just keep pushing and keep building work for yourself and don't be afraid to fail. That's the one thing in improv that we always talk about is is to not have a fear of failure. That if you do fail, you can get right back up and you can keep going and you can learn from those. And I think that that's something that I wish I had known when I was younger too, is that, I think there's a lot of pressure put on us when we're in school to be perfect. And it's like you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep working hard and keep pushing yourself to the next level and don't give up. It's like we're all going to fail in our life and we're going to do things and we're going to make choices that maybe aren't the best for us, but then we learn from those mistakes and we just keep going and we keep growing. And I think that would be the best advice I could give somebody who's in first year right now taking midterms. It's the most stressful time of your life because it's a different beast, university is, and I don't think we're always prepared for it as much as we could be. And it's like, it's okay. Like, look, it took me 5 years to get through school, which
It's
it isn't
okay.
it's okay. It's not my
Okay.
best moment in life, but it's okay because I also learned a million other things along the way, right? That made me who I am.
What, like getting an agent, is that something that folks should do? Is that kind of the way you went about doing it?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time I didn't have an agent. It was really hard. And then obviously I got it was nice because I got Second City. And so then people were seeing me and then I've been with my agent ever since. Um so it's not easy to just get an agent. I would also say like keep your options open. Don't go with just the first person that comes along. You got to take
Mhm.
meetings and find out who's right for you. Um having material to show them is important so they can see what you can do. So whether that is doing a live show or maybe taping some things for yourself to have a reel is great. But it definitely helps to have an agent to help you book those roles. Uh, Definitely.
Trisha, just as we close up here, so what's next for you? I know there's some things you can't talk about, but is there a project on the horizon that you're excited about? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, so Small Achievable Goals is on CBC right now. It just premiered last week. So you can watch that on CBC Gem or CBC itself. And as hard as everyone thinks CBC Gem is, it's actually quite easy. You just put your email in and then you can watch everything for free. So
Yeah,
just go watch CBC Gem.
everyone should
And
be doing
then
that.
everybody should be doing that. And then I do have several projects that I unfortunately can't fully talk about right now, but they will be coming out in the near future that are really exciting, and I kind of can't wait for people to see them. Yeah. So just keep your eyes peeled.
We absolutely will. Tricia Black, thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I don't know if you know this, but Mount Allison has a rapidly growing film and film studies program.
Oh,
It's now
that's
a minor
amazing.
and will soon be a major. There's faculty involved. And so this is your open invitation. Anytime you can come back to New Brunswick, let us know. We'll make arrangements so that you can meet with these dozens and dozens of students who are studying film here at Mount Allison now.
Oh,
Invitation's
amazing. I would
open.
love that.
Yep.
Please. Yes, I'll
Yeah.
always come back. I'll do anything for Mount A.
Thank you. A sincere thank you to the executive producer and director of our podcast, Kay, who is the quadrant intern at the Alumni Engagement Office. A sincere thank you to them, and especially to the fine folks at CHMA FM Radio who have made all of this possible by allowing us to use their facilities here on campus.
Mount Allison strives to be a safe, respectful, and welcoming place for people of all genders, diverse sexualities, gender identities, and gender expressions through education, programming, support, and advocacy. We prioritized upholding, maintaining, and honoring that environment during the creation of this podcast.